In an era truly defined by the gluttonous IP machine looming over everything, in an era where you can have the best visuals but be bad optics, we enter a new decade. We used to look at the looks, we used to listen to the sounds, we used to feel the emotions, we used to be inspired or throw up in our own mouths because the movie's so terrible. The Oscars 2020, they're coming up fast, coming up hard. So what we're gonna do is do a review of the decade. If you're new here, please subscribe. I talk about movies. Alright. Friends, countrymen, Oscar movies have been...
I come to bury Caesar, not to praise him.
...trash for a while now. 2010, the 83rd Oscars. Nominees were 127 hours, which is about how long anybody remembered that movie. Black Swan, actually pretty decent. The Fighter, best for the performance of supporting actor Christian Bale, otherwise forgettable. Inception, popcorn movie. The Kids Are Alright, it was just alright. The Social Network, fantastic. David Fincher, no complaints on that one. Toy Story 3, Throw It Away, True Grit, the remake by the Coen brothers. I truly regret having seen the movie. It wasn't that bad, but it wasn't that great either. Winter's Bone, aptly named because it introduced the world to Jennifer Lawrence, but that's about all it did. And the winner, to top it all off, was The King's Speech, which nobody wanted to hear again. That was 2010. 2011, the nominees were The Descendants, George Clooney family drama that didn't do much. I saw it in theaters in LA. It wasn't that great. Extremely loud and incredibly close. Extremely mediocre and incredibly forgettable. Was that based on a Jonathan Safran Foer novel? The Help needed help. Hugo, you go to another movie. Martin Scorsese, but it was pretty forgettable. Midnight in Paris, directed by the myth, the legend, the man who will never die as long as he keeps directing movies. It had weird central casting, but it was a fun movie, but again, didn't do much. Moneyball, Brad Pitt, about baseball, penned by Aaron Sorkin. Didn't see it, but the cover was green. The Tree of Life, Terrence Malick. Actually pretty good, but it had about 4 lines of dialogue throughout the entirety of the movie. And all I remember was some pretty terrible looking dinosaurs and Brad Pitt trying to toughen his kids up, but still, it was pretty decent. Warhorse, Kathleen Kennedy was a producer on that along with Steven Spielberg, but it has since been turned into glue. The winner that year was The Artist, a silent movie that its fans have been mimicking ever since. At least when it comes to talking about it. We're on to 2013. The nominees were American Hustle, shockingly overrated, an ensemble cast that actually didn't do much and didn't have much character. Captain Phillips. It's about a guy on a boat. He's a captain, then he's not the captain because the other guy says he's the captain. And that's pretty much the whole movie. Dallas Buyers Club. About people buying Dallas with AIDS or something, and it's one of those perennial issue tragedy movies that are incredibly forgettable. Gravity, some incredible visuals with some of the most superficial characterizations I have seen. Her was fantastic. Spike Jonze knocked it out of the park. It's beautiful, it's well acted, and it looked great. I watched it over and over. Nebraska, old guy, thought he won the lottery. Was this Alexander Payne? He's driving across the country to cash it in, but it was about as interesting or as exciting as Nebraska in general. Philomena had Dame Judi Dench. Wasn't she insane or suffering from dementia or something like that? I didn't finish it. I only watched half. But the Decemberists have a song based on that. Still, it was a pretty forgettable movie. The Wolf of Wall Street. Another very good Scorsese film that flutters between first and second tier. And the winner that year, 12 Years a Slave. Heard it was fine and haven't heard of it since. 2014, and the nominees were American Sniper, Clint Eastwood, Bradley Cooper shooting people, that was fine. Didn't blow my hair back, Boyhood. An incredible feat and pretty incredibly overrated, although Ethan Hawke turns in a nice performance there. It was more spectacle than it was filmmaking. The Grand Budapest Hotel, gotta give it to Wes Anderson, it's probably the quality movie of the year. The Imitation Game, another one of those Oscar baity biopics, but at least it had math, so that's good. Selma, isn't that Ava DuVernay? Isn't she an absolutely horrendous filmmaker? I think I started watching it and turned it right off because I just could not stand it. The Theory of Everything, absolute, utter, beginning to end trash except for the performance of Eddie Redmayne. He was pretty decent. Otherwise, absolutely horrendous movie. Whiplash, it's the music, lots of music. Drummond, and one of the best working actors out there. Not the kid, the other guy who got his rib broken when he got tackled by the kid. Really do like that director. He's just very more musically inclined than literary or storytelling storytelling inclined. His movies tend to follow a very clear pattern. The winner that year, it was Birdman. Alejandro G. Iñárritu got the win with Birdman, which did the one-shot shtick way before 1917, or that other one that was a foreign film. And I remember liking it when I saw it because Edward Norton had some pretty awesome scenes, but otherwise it's been relatively forgettable. And Michael Keaton, he's really good. That was 2014. 2015, the nominees were The Big Short. Surprisingly good movie. It was thoroughly enjoyable, but it certainly wasn't anything mind-blowing when it comes to filmmaking in general. Bridge of Spies. There was a bridge, it was full of spies, they should have just taken the other bridge. Brooklyn, it was fine, but another one of these anemic character movies don't really have all that much to say. Mad Max Fury Road, mind blown. The best movie of that year, bar none, no question. Get off me. Are you kidding? The Martian, enjoyable. It's just a feel-good kind of a movie. I'm stuck on Mars. I'm gonna grow some potatoes with human feces. That's fine. The Revenant looked incredible. Incredible acting from both of the leads. I know what's his dude who played Venom didn't get all the accolades that he should have gotten for this movie, but there's not much rewatch value when it comes to The Revenant. Room, pretty overrated. It didn't actually have a whole lot to it, but it was fine. I see the nomination. And Spotlight was the winner. Was this the one, or was it the other one that was about the Catholic abuse scandal? I cannot recall, because they are boring and interchangeable. And I get it, they went through all the paces to try to make it a toned down version of trying to figure out how to do a story, and all the background stuff is perfectly fine, but I think this is a safe pick, and there wasn't much to it. Mad Max is way better, way more important when it comes to the history of cinematic achievement, no question. In 2650, they're gonna say in 2015, how on earth did Mad Max Fury Road not win the 88th Oscars Best Picture? That's what they're gonna say. They're also gonna say, it's disgusting that our ancestors had to defecate into a porcelain bowl. They're gonna say that too. The year is 2016. The nominees were Arrival, Denis Villeneuve, and Amy Adams. How can you go wrong? It was a little simple character-wise. I know I used the word simple with that movie, but Denis Villeneuve is probably one of the best. He's in the top 5 best directors who are living right now. Fences, a bunch of emotions, flying backwards and forwards. I'm sure it was fine as 2 of the best actors out there. Hacksaw Ridge, that was the one where Spider-Man had to save a whole bunch of people, but he didn't have his spider powers, right? Forgettable. That was Mel Gibson, wasn't it? Hell or High Water, heist movie with Ben Foster, the least heralded for his skill. That guy is amazing, but it was a pretty forgettable movie. Hidden Figures, one of the most overrated pieces of junk in the history of the world. It was about real people, and they still managed to turn real people into 2-dimensional characters. It was ridiculous. Saying they're 2-dimensional might be a little too generous. La La Land, again, same guy who did Whiplash. It's musical, it's fun, it follows a formula, and there's not a whole lot to it. Lion, Dev Patel, that's all I know about it. There might have been a lion in it. Manchester by the Sea, excellent performance by Casey Affleck. Another one of these character things that are incredibly forgettable. And the winner that year, Moonlight. Speaking of character things that are incredibly forgettable, there's another one. That was 2016. 2017, and the nominees were Darkest Hour, about that guy during World War II in England who said something about beaches. I'm sure it was fine. Dunkirk, beautiful, but nobody watches it. Nobody has seen it since. Nobody has ever talked about it, except for Quentin Tarantino, who called it a masterpiece. It was a very good movie. It just didn't have a whole lot going on. I thought there were going to be aliens. That's what I thought. That sounds so stupid. Get Out. I'm sure Jordan Peele did a great job. I love horror movies when they're done well. This is a glaring omission. I've been afraid to watch this movie because I'm afraid it's overrated, and I'm afraid I'm not going to like it, so I've been afraid to do it. At some point I'm going to. I know Us has got mixed reviews, but... So jury's still out on that one. Lady Bird. If it's set in England, that is incredibly redundant. So let's hope not. I love Saoirse Ronan. She's a very good actress. She was in some pretty stupid movies historically, but she's a very good actress. I'm sure it's fine. And Greta Gerwig, maybe she is the next insert name of great director, but I don't know yet, so we'll see. Phantom Thread, fantastic. One of the few incredible movies that year. I still watch it to this day. I have it on repeat. It's playing right now in the background. You should be able to hear it. Great movie, incredible incredible performances, looks great, interesting, love it. The Post, that was the other one. The Post, I think I started that and didn't finish it. And the same thing happened with 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. Started that but didn't finish it. I know that's an issue movie, right? And it's got one of those less heralded but amazing actors, the guy from Moon. Why can't I remember names right now? But he's fantastic. And the winner of the 2017 Oscars was The Shape of Water, the movie that was able to just shove in every issue you could possibly imagine, whether it's immigration or racism or sexism. I think the only thing that it didn't manage was anti-Semitism. That's it. But I think he got to sprinkle in like some heightism, some class issues, some connected earlobe-ism. I mean, just every ism, every issue you could possibly think of, just shoved right into this movie so he could get over the top to get the win, and he did, and it was incredibly forgettable. I'm so sad that I bought the stupid thing. It was fine, it looked good. Had some music, some great music, but still very forgettable and annoyingly forgettable. 2018, and the nominees were Black Panther, the most overrated movie in the history of movies. Black Klansman. Adam Driver's in that, so I'm sure he was fantastic, but it's got the most overrated director in the history of movies. I will see it at some point, though. We shall see. I know his last movie was absolute trash, and it was heralded amongst all of the critics, so I'm not looking forward to it. Bohemian Rhapsody. It's one of those biopics, I'm sure. It's complete trash, but it did really well, and what's his name's a decent actor, so who knows. The Favorite, incredibly heralded. One of those movies, again, it's got issues, and it just uses them as a hook. It doesn't explore those ideas, but you do get to see Emma Stone topless, so that's a positive. Roma, one of the most beautiful movies I've ever seen in my entire life, and one of the most vacuous on top of that. So, just plug it in to one of those moving picture frames, just have it on repeat on that, and you'll be fine. You don't need to hear anything that it has to say because it's not saying anything. And the characters are just nothing. A Star is Born. It's one of those, oh my gosh, they have so much chemistry and they love each other, let's sing together kinds of movies. I'm sure it's delightful, but it is not great cinema, if I have to guess. I haven't seen it. Vice, shockingly forgettable political propaganda. That's all that one managed to be. And Green Book, the feel-good movie for all the white people. Guarantee it's forgettable trash, hence why nobody has ever talked about that movie since it came out. And we have arrived, sons and daughters. Who am I kidding? No, it's just sons. I checked the demographics. This is 2019, and the nominees are... Okay, so there were 2 I didn't see. I didn't see Little Women, which is about female midgets who roam the streets, chopping anyone taller than them in half. I did not see 1917, which is about the Night of Terror when the superintendent of the Occoquan workhouse in Virginia ordered the guards to brutalize the suffragist inmates, and the entire movie is shown backwards. Did not see that, but an interesting gimmick, so we'll see how that turns out. I did see Everything Else for Best Picture, and they kind of fit into like 3 categories. There's the standard Hollywood fare. Ford versus Ferrari. It's a classic Hollywood story of grit and fight and hard work. It explores the good and the bad of capitalism and features great performances from Christian Bale, Matt Damon, and the Ford GT40. Anyone who played Gran Turismo knows what a pain it was dealing with the understeer by the Ford GT40, and that was depicted very well by that car in this movie, so I don't know why it didn't get the nomination. It's just a pure, solid entrant with little chance of actually getting a Best Picture win. Enjoyable movie. The other one in this category, the standard Hollywood fare, is The Irishman. It's a hefty, massive, chubby retread of much of what we've seen before, with some flashes of brilliance from the performers and visual effects team. There are many physical scenes. With de-aged actors or not, the physical scenes were just too geriatric to be believed. There's one scene, in fact, with Robert De Niro where he's supposed to be kicking this guy with the intent to seriously injure him, and it just looks like an unsteady foot wobble. It doesn't look like a kick. It's worth a watch, but unlike most of Scorsese's body of work, it's probably just one viewing. I couldn't imagine only seeing Goodfellas one time. This I can absolutely imagine. Then we've got category 2, the genre standouts. We've got Jojo Rabbit, a genuinely funny movie about a kid who joins the Nazi youth and has a famous imaginary friend. Excellent performances all around, the kids, the adults. It keeps just the right tone for the subject matter, and it's not a throwaway Oscar movie. This is legitimately Taika Waititi, is that how you say his name? Really hit it out of the park with this one. I was so surprised by how well the kids did in these parts and how well written the thing was to be able to manage this subject matter. So enjoyable. I can't wait to watch it again. The other genre standout, the Joker, of course. Skirting the line between theme park movies and real movies, Joker dares to let a real actor create a real character destined to fight a guy in a rubber bat costume. Whether you want to see themes of mental illness, a disinterested government bureaucracy, a broiling, disenfranchised public, or simple class warfare, Joker probably doesn't care about any of those things, and Joaquin Phoenix is one of the best actors out there, period. Okay, and then you've got the movies that are just great movies that aren't really genre, although arguably are. At least this one, Marriage Story. Speaking of acting, we don't deserve the work put in by Scarlett Johansson, Adam Driver, and Laura Dern in Marriage Story. It's some of the best work I've seen. Characters that can be petty, egocentric, superficial, deeply affected, and wonderfully complex. It's as realistic a depiction of these kinds of situations as it gets. It was beautiful. So very worth watching. Noah Baumbach, his other great film, The Squid and the Whale. This one is a fantastic entrant into the film canon. I absolutely enjoy it, and I will be watching it again. Another one that isn't really a genre movie, doesn't fit in the other categories, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's my favorite movie of the year. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood tells the story of stuntman Cliff Booth and fading actor Rick Dalton. It's a lamentation and a send-off to old Hollywood. It's one of the few movies that have ever brought together storytelling, history, themes, performances, dialogue, music, and visuals in such an incredible way. It will go down as a classic. It was thoroughly enjoyable. The last one, Parasite, directed by South Korean filmmaker Bong Joon-ho. This film just ignores traditional film structure and ignores the traditional kinds of payoffs that you get like nothing else on the list. Parasite follows a struggling family who insinuates itself into a rich family. If you want a movie where you have no damn idea where the plot is going, this is the one for you. My friends, countrymen, this was the reason that I want to talk about this, because actually, this year, the 2020 Oscars have the best lineup that I have seen in a decade. That is encouraging. We've had an absolutely anemic, horrible Best Picture situation for at least 10 years. I didn't go beyond that, but at least 10 years. I went through each of the movies. They were mostly forgettable schlock trash, and this year we actually have a stacked ballot with some great films. This is the message to Hollywood filmmakers. They can't just phone it in anymore. They can't just gender swap or just throw in some progressive themes and call it a movie. That they have to actually make real films. And it'll be sad to see any of these filmmakers slowing down. The other ones, I'm looking forward to what they have coming up. But right now, I'm just unbelievably happy that we actually got a legitimate lineup of films for an Oscars, and it's the beginning of a new decade. Oh my God, thank you guys very much. I hope all is well. Subscribe. I'll see you on the next one. Okay, bye.